Hello guys, welcome back to another video, and today we are going through all of the new movies that I watched during the month of July. As always, I have wrote these down in my little notes here, and I have cinema, Blu-ray, as well as streaming, and all the things I watched during the month. We will start with cinema though, of course, and we will start at Jurassic World Rebirth. This came out towards the end of June, I think it was, or was it early July? But anyways, I saw it at the beginning of July. I gave Rebirth a 2-star. I found it to be awful, to be honest. Really dumb. One of the worst Jurassic World films, in my opinion. CGI-wise, it looked fantastic, though. One of the best, of course. Which, in fairness, you would expect. It needs to look the best. It's the latest one in the franchise. But the story was dumb. A way to shoehorn in a family to make them vulnerable, to have kids in there, I guess. And it just felt really unplanned. Big miss for me. I'm a massive Gareth Edwards fan. But for this one, not a fan of Rebirth. Next one then, though, was the biggest movie probably of the month, Superman. The James Gunn DCU starts, of course, and I saw this and gave it a 4.5 star. Thoroughly entertaining, a very, very different concept to what we've ever seen in terms of DC before, and a fantastic Superman. David Cornsweet was absolutely brilliant in the role, and I liked his performance. I liked the suit, I liked everything. You had Crypto in there as well, Lois, of course, Lex with Rachel Brosnahan, as well as, of course, Nicholas Hoult. And it just was a really, really good story. I actually saw the film 4 times in the month of July. So I went in standard 2D, I then saw it in super screen, I went to see it in IMAX, and I went to go and see it with a friend then in just standard 2D. So yeah, 4.5 star, 4 times I've seen it, 4.5 star reviews. Just a little bit not perfect for me in terms of the music. It just didn't have a fantastic score, in my opinion, that maybe other films have had. And I guess just to give it a bit more character and a bit more recognizability, I guess. It was still really, really good, but yeah. Just 3 films left then now in terms of cinema, not the busiest of months. Then we had Smurfs. 2-star gave Smurfs. One of the worst films of the year, in my opinion, but a very dumb animated film with some plot holes in there. Very nice animation style though. Voice acting as well was mediocre at best, and I just think that, you know, was it really needed? Did we really need to go away from, you know, the other Smurfs movies that we had, such as I think these are the ones that stars Katy Perry and all of that. We didn't really need to go away from this phase, and no one was really asking for Smurfs, were they? But yeah, you know, they tried to do the whole animation and real world. It didn't really fit because there was no need for it, because there was no interaction with any humans in the film. But yeah, it was just shoehorned in. It just felt a bit weird. Then I went to go and see a film that's actually out in August, and this is Materialists. Pedro Pascal, Dakota Johnson, and Chris Evans. This is a bit of a film basically starring Dakota Johnson. So I just went to go and see this on an early screening as part of Cineworld's Unlimited screenings, and Dakota's basically playing this person who's like a matchmaker, and she puts couples together and all that, but she's very materialistic. She cares about somebody's like house, like how much money they have, versus like maybe somebody who doesn't have much money. And Pedro Pascal is like a banker, or quite a high valued person in terms of money and whatnot. And then Chris Evans is basically playing like a guy who's just, you know, living with people, lives in a crammed flat, all of that kind of stuff. And she loves him, but she wants to be with Pedro Pascal kind of thing. So it's a bit of an interesting one, but she's very materialistic in her ways and tries to change her mind into thinking, you know, what her head actually thinks and all that. So very interesting one, I will say. But yeah, I gave it a 3-star. Nothing special, probably one-time watch for me. Directed by Celine Song, I believe, who directed Past Lives, but not to that level, because Past Lives I thought was fantastic, but this was just a one-time watch. Okay, good performances, and yeah. And then finally then, another Pedro Pascal movie, Fantastic Four First Steps, of course, the newest Marvel film of the year. 4-star I gave this. Not as good as Superman for me. Superman completely wins out of the 2 comic book movies of July, but Fantastic Four was a fantastic film, one of the better Marvel movies, and a really good, you know, story. Really, like, it was nice that it was a standalone thing. Do you know what I mean? I think the whole Galactus stuff was quite weak, in my opinion. The whole Nemesis in the film was quite weak from that point of view, and yeah, that's why I gave it a 4-star. But I like the fact that it was a standalone film. You didn't have to watch any other Marvel movie at all. You could just watch Fantastic Four as a one-off, and I think it just makes sense. And that's what I like about that it just makes sense to anyone off the street that just wants to watch it, you know. So that's all the cinema titles there that I watched. Obviously not many individual films, but I did go and see Superman 4 times. That's probably why I wasn't watching many other things. Streaming wise then, we'll do streaming before Blu-ray. We have one on Sky. I actually signed up to Sky recently in terms of a new contract, but I also added Sky Cinema. So with that gives me all the Sky Cinema movies, of course. And I watched Cleaner. This is the one starring Daisy Ridley, of course, Rey from Star Wars. I give it a 2.5 star. Pretty bad. Not great. One-time watch. Really good start, but just ended awfully. Just completely was just like, what kind of crazy stuff can we add into this film, and what CGI can we add in to make a big explosion and all of that stuff. Just completely was going one way and then totally deviated to a different way. I just didn't see it coming. Didn't watch any trailers or anything, but yeah. Netflix then, I also watched a documentary. This is Trainwreck Balloon Boy. This is actually a really interesting documentary. I catched the trailer, I think it was on TikTok or something. And yeah, this UFO thing goes off, and apparently there's kids inside there, and all of America is basically gripped at this story that this kid could be inside. And yeah, all of it unravels, and the actual father and mother and the kids were actually on the actual documentary talking about it. Really interesting documentary. Gave it a 3 star. Mediocre. Probably a bit of an anticlimactic ending to the documentary, but yeah. Another Netflix one. This is a Netflix film. I think this came out towards the end of May, maybe beginning of June in the UK, so I'm a little bit late getting to it. But my other half put on Nonnas. This is Nonnas. This is a movie starring Vince Vaughn, who basically loses his mum, his nonna, which is an Italian grandmother kind of figure, and he loses his mum or nan, and he basically loses his house, I think, or loses his job. Ultimately opens a restaurant and calls it his Nonnas. He wants everyone to try, authentic Italian food that's cooked by a nonna kind of thing, and all of that. 3 star, very, very pleasant film. Just nothing that I'll watch again, probably. But still, really good. And nice to see Vince Vaughn in more of a serious role, because I've only ever seen him in things that are kind of like, comedies and whatnot. So yeah, pretty good. The next one then I watched was Happy Gilmore 2, of course, the follow-up to Happy Gilmore, which we will get into my Blu-ray watches, because I watched the first movie. I gave it a 2 star. Happy Gilmore 2 was not a good follow-up at all, in my opinion. The first one is way better. Spoiler, you'll see that in a sec. But the second one just was not great. Just a complete cameo fest. Went for the total wrong things. The plot was way too convenient and just was very similar to the first one. I actually watched the first one and then straight away watched the second one. So it was like I was in a parallel universe. It was the exact same film, but just a different skin on it. And also a way for Adam Sandler to just put like his wife in there, his kids in there. I mean, his daughter was in there and she was quite good in the film, to be honest. But there's just a way to just put things in there, and it was just so much stuff in there that it was just too much for me. But just took away from the actual greatness of the first one, in my opinion, which, as I say, we'll get into when we get to the Blu-ray stuff. So we will start there now with the Blu-rays. Of course, we ended on Happy Gilmore 2, so we'll start on Happy Gilmore 1, even though it was one of the later ones in the month that I watched. There it is, Happy Gilmore 1 on Blu-ray. I watched this. I love this film, honest to God. Fantastic film. 4.5 star I gave the first one, 2 star for the second one. This is a classic, and it should never have been remade in terms of a sequel, in my opinion. Although nice to see a sequel, just wasn't executed very well. It could have had so much potential, but the first one is a classic comedy film. If you're wanting something that's got loads of heart, got loads of good one-liners, good performance as well. I think Adam Sandler's brilliant in this film. It's one of his honest bests. And, some really good iconic moments in there as well, like that scene, for instance. So, yeah, brilliant. I will give Happy Gilmore 4.5 stars. So, we'll go back to the beginning of the month then, just because it makes sense now in terms of my list and all that. But I actually watched, and towards the end of last month, you guys, if you watched last month, would have seen that I was watching some Superman films, of course, in the hype of Superman. And just as at the turn of the month, I actually watched Man of Steel. This is my Man of Steel steelbook here, as you can see. So yeah, really good film, to be honest. It's still really, really good, but I actually I kind of dropped my score a little bit on it, because it kind of wasn't as good and didn't have as much heart as like the Christopher Reeve films did and all of that. So I gave it a 3.5 star, which is still high in some people's opinion. But it's definitely not Christopher Reeve's level, and it's definitely not, even the David Corenswet one, as we've gone through. So still a good one, but not fantastic. One of the lesser Superman films, in my opinion. But, it's just one of those things, isn't it? You're not going to win them all. But it's still a really, really good take, I guess, on Superman. It's a very different take, but it's still a good take. Then we continued on with our DC-ness, and I watched Zack Snyder's Justice League, all in one viewing in one evening. Believe it or not, this 4K actually is over 2 discs. Now, I actually give the score to Zack Snyder's Justice League as a 5-star. I think it's the best comic book movie ever made, and that's a claim I make. I love this film. I've always loved this film ever since it came out. I was totally mesmerised by it. And the fact that we've even got it just from a fan movement is absolutely exceptional. Love the film. Love everything about it. It's split over 2 discs. You watch 1 disc and then it says, like, you know, end of this part, you know, the disc ends, and then you put the new disc in to watch the rest. So, yeah, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. I watched that. That was in one evening. And then I went downstairs, and I just thought, you know what? We're going to watch Justice League. So I watched the exact same film on the exact same day, basically, even though this is the version that was released into cinemas versus the version that was obviously remade and redone. Awful. This I gave a 2-star, I believe. Justice League, absolutely insane. Totally different film. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. But yeah, still got the Steelbook, obviously. Still got in the collection. Don't know whether I'm ever going to watch her again. But yes, crazy. Moving on then, we have then some other things that I've done some videos on. So we have Midsommar. Of course, this was the first time watch for this month. You guys voted for. I gave this a 4-star. I've done an entire video on this dedicated to actually watching this in that day. So if you're interested to know my thoughts, I go over there. But in a nutshell, very good, 4-star. I loved it. I watched the theatrical version, not the actual director's cut, which I have here. I got the 2 versions there, as you can see. So we need to watch the director's cut. It's one of those films you need to, I think I said in the video, you need to like watch it and like sit on it a bit and think about it. Definitely wanting to do with that. So yeah. And this part is actually being totally gifted. This was given to me by the studio. So full disclaimer there, Sweeney Todd. 4.5-star, fantastic, one of my favourite musicals. But I also did a video about, is the 4K actually worth it for Sweeney Todd? So go and check that video if you're interested. But in a nutshell, a very, very good experience. And it felt like I was watching the film for the first time on 4K, because it just was a totally different experience to what I've experienced before. I've watched this many times, Blu-ray, DVD, etc. But 4K just gives you something extra. So go and check that out if you want to know my detailed thoughts. But love the film, 4.5-star. Alan Rickman is brilliant in this. Timothy Spall, of course, Johnny Depp, as well as Helena Bonham Carter. Brilliant cast. One of Tim Burton's best. Honest to God, I love that film. Next one then, I decided to watch a bit of horror. You guys know I've been picking up some things on the Blu-ray hunt in terms of the Pooh universe stuff. So I started it. Winnie the Pooh, #1. This is Blood and Honey. 1 star. It's so bad. It's so bad. It's basically Friday the 13th with the guy dressed up as Winnie the Pooh. Not what I thought it would be. Haven't exactly rushed to watch #2, which I haven't done yet. So I will do that in the next couple of months. But we watched it. We didn't like it. But we'll continue on with it. That's what we're going to do. Some of the deaths in there were okay. But yeah, like this one was quite cool when she was in the hot tub. That was quite cool. And like Piglet was behind. Pretty cool concept, you know, way to get clicks and stuff. But you can tell it's very low budget and very, let's just see if we can get some clicks on it, you know. But yeah, I'm interested to see more, because the first one did really well. You know, maybe they reinvested some of that money into the second one, and even third one being Peter Pan. And there's more to come. So, you know, the exposure that these films are getting, they might generate some actual good films towards the end. I mean, I'm saying that hopefully, but you never know. And then finally then we have 3 titles here. Of course, these are the old Fantastic Four films. So we have the first ever Fantastic Four movie, which is a slipcover that was gifted and given to me by a subscriber back in the day. But up here, this is the first one, Fantastic Four, starring the original Mr. Fantastic, Sue Storm, obviously Chris Evans there, Captain America is Johnny, and the Thing. Really good, really good. I honestly enjoyed this film a lot. I can't put the slipcover on, so I'll sort that in a bit. I honestly enjoyed this a lot. I gave it a 3-star. It's definitely not, you know, the levels that we expect nowadays from a comic book film, but it's still very, very fun. Very, very engaging characters, all very good. Explains everything really well of how they got their powers. Probably one of the best Fantastic Four films to explain how they actually got their powers, even more than the new one, maybe. It's a really good film and a must watch, I think, before going into the new Fantastic Four, because you get a lot of a sense of what the characters are and the relationships involved with everyone, especially for the Thing here. He had a really good story in this film. Loved it. A really good film. So I gave that a 3-star. And then, of course, I did watch the sequel to that, Silver Surfer, or Rise of the Silver Surfer. This one wasn't as good in terms of well-made film, but still had that joy, had that charm. And I really like this period of Marvel. The look of the film and all that, really good. I definitely can see myself watching these back quite a few times. If I want something else like a cheese fest, these are really good for that, but not in a bad way as well. Really good way. But I enjoyed this. I did enjoy it. Enjoyment level of these films was really high, but obviously 3 or 2 stars is quite low in that sense. But, you know, I can still enjoy the films, can't I? So that is those two there. Then that is the Fantastic Four original movies. And then I had to succumb myself, of course, to Fanforstic. Oh my God, honestly, I gave it a 0.5 star in my letterbox. I was constantly waiting for this film to get going. It was like, come on, let's actually start. When are we actually going to see these heroes start and actually be heroes? They never do, let's just say. They never do. They go to this underworld realm to get their, I don't know how they get their powers. They explain that quite well. It starts off pretty okay, and then completely just changes. They're basically locked up in prison for the entire time. You can clearly see there potentially was a plan with this. Like, this was very much the origin story, and then the next one would have been the actual, like, them being superheroes maybe. But they never got that far. Let's be real, they never did. That is the film Fanforstic, of course. Not a good one, and easily a big miss. To be honest, it's a bit of a shame that it's taking up a slot on my shelves, but I'm going to have to keep it in because it's Marvel and it's needed because I collect Marvel. So 0.5 star. But 100%, these two films for me were way better when it comes to Fantastic Four. And of course, the cinema one was the best made film out of all of them in terms of the new one that's out now. But still, some good joy in all of those. But what I will say, as I did put this on my Instagram, is I think the look of the Thing in Fanforstic is actually the best version of the Thing. I stand by that. I think he looks the best in Fanforstic out of even the new one. I think, you know, the new one is still quite good, but and that one's clearly a suit and not CGI. But he looked the best in Fanforstic. I just think he looked like he had real good, you know, character, I guess, in a way. So anyway, that is all of the Blu-rays that we watched during the month of July. Really good, decent month of Blu-rays. Probably is going to die down a little bit of late. Maybe in August I'll watch a bit, but it's nice weather and stuff, isn't it? So, you know, in the room, I don't really want to spend much time in here watching too many Blu-rays. So, yeah, it's bad enough you've got the cinema enough, but there you go. There's my list. There is everything that I watched during the month of July. A jam-packed month, of course. Similar to June. We had loads of stuff in June that we watched. But really good stuff, of course. So it's interesting. Finally watched all the Fantastic Four films. Finally watched all the Superman films now, because I've never seen the originals before. So yeah, we're making moves and we're doing well with all that we're watching here on Movies with James. Thanks so much for watching, though, guys. Stay tuned for more videos coming soon. If you are interested, of course, please do comment down below. I'll have a conversation with you. Let me know your thoughts on anything I've watched during the month. And of course, if you are new here, please do hit that QR code there with your phone. Take it out of your pocket. You're watching me on your big telly and scan that QR code. You can then subscribe to the channel there and then easy on your phone if you are interested. Yes, there it is. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more and we'll see you soon. Goodbye, guys.